Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today at our webinar on what's new in Business Central Wave 2 for 2022. So, as always, it is myself, Danusha Jolliffe, the Marketing Director here at TVision, doing the webinar with you, and also my colleague, Ian. You can advance the slides. Thank you. So I'll be doing the housekeeping. So if you have any questions, please do put them in the question box. Likewise in the chat, I will be monitoring that throughout. At the end of the webinar, we'll send you a recording so you can watch it back or alternatively share with any colleagues who weren't able to attend today. I know a number of you will have already been receiving emails from Tessa, my colleague, talking about the wave. So I know everyone's ready, it's coming. So today, let me tell you what Ian will be talking about after in his demo. So just hold on one moment, we're just going to get the screens right in. We haven't got that showing at the moment, we've still got the first one.
Oh, sorry.
There we go, perfect. So in this second update, Ian's going to be talking about switching companies, and I know that's something that a lot of you do, mentioning the tax dates for VAT, posting and unposted document lines, Excel layouts and reporting, and then the look and feel, and that's quite a big change that I think people will be noticing. So I think it's important that we reflect on that. We had a meeting internally with the TVision team just to see which of the items that are coming up, which functionality is of the most interest to you, our clients, and these are the ones that we've come up with. There is lots and lots that's going on, and I'll share the links at the end so that you can go and look to see if there's other functionality that you would like to look at, but this is what we'll be highlighting today. Ian, over to you.
All right, thanks, Danusha. And hopefully everyone can see that screen. Yep, as Danusha said, you should be hearing from Tessa if you haven't already. And it is really important that you test these changes, make sure that they work for you, and do it as quickly as you can, because Microsoft do limit the amount of time that we have to roll these things out. It's to your benefit. There's some nice features in here. Some of them I think you're going to really enjoy this time around. So the first one Danusha mentioned was the switching companies. So in the past, you used to have your company badge over here. If you want to change companies, you click your gear icon, you go to My Settings, you could change companies. That badge has now moved, it's up here. It tells you which company you're in, and if you click on the badge, you can flick between the companies in this environment. And if you've got more than one environment, which you will all have more than one, it would list your production environments with all the companies that are available, then your UAT for your testing with all the companies that are available, your support sandbox with all the companies that are available, and you can select any one of them. You don't have to start coming up to the address bar and changing the address. It will just do it for you across all your environments.
Ian,
yeah?
We've already had a question come in. Someone saying, can you restrict the access for the various companies depending on who the people are that use the system?
Yep, certainly. The access control that you currently use is still valid. That hasn't changed. So within any of those companies, you can go to the users page, you can set up their access, and you can restrict them and say, in this company, they're allowed to do anything. In that company, they've got read-only access, they've got no access to the third company, etc. So if they don't have access to a company, it just won't appear in this list for them to even click on. So you can restrict people's access, especially if you don't want people playing in the sandbox where you're trying to test something. You can make yourself the only person who has access. Quite welcome to do things like that.
Thank you.
So that's just going to make it much easier for you. Setting up that badge, it's something that you go and do in the company information page. So I'm just going to search for company information, and at the bottom of the company information page, you'll see where you set up your badge. I've set mine to say Wave. There it is. And it's a good idea to set this up and use some kind of color scheme. So for my production environments, I'm using a light green. So it's pretty obvious I'm in a production environment. Maybe for my test environment, I do it in blue. For my support environment, I do it in red so that people know they shouldn't be fiddling in those environments if they do have access. So set up those badges and use that switcher. The second one, and we have quite a few customers who've asked us already about doing things like this, is VAT. So in some jurisdictions, the date that you report your VAT is not necessarily the posting date of your sales invoice or your purchase invoice. Maybe it's the document date that you have to use, or the date that you receive delivery of the goods. And now this has become possible in this new release of Business Central. There are a few places where you can influence this. One is on your general ledger setup. And within your general ledger setup, you will start noticing there's a lot more options that you're starting to get up here. And one of them is your default VAT date. At the moment, it's the same as the posting date. So if I create a sales document or a purchase document, the VAT date is going to be whatever posting date I set. But you could change that and you could default it to use the document date instead. So if you're in one of those jurisdictions that uses document date, you can set that up to happen by default. It goes even further than that. So when you're on a sales document or a purchase document, I usually demonstrate sales documents. Let me do a purchase order instead of a sales document. So purchase orders. And hopefully I've got a purchase order, yes. So within a purchase order, if I want to use a VAT date that's different to the one the system has given me by default, I do apologize for my system being quite slow. So you can see it's set it to be the same as my posting date. That's how I've got it set up in the general ledger setup. But maybe I don't want to report this VAT on the 8th of the 4th. I can type in a different date. So now when I post this document, the postings to the general ledger will happen on the 8th of the 4th, but the VAT will be recorded on the 9th of the 4th. So that's going to pull through onto my VAT statement. It's going to pull through, if I'm using MTD, into my MTD system. It will get your VAT in the correct period. So you can change the VAT date. And I know that's something people have been wanting to do. And it's not just on your purchase orders, sales orders, purchase and sales invoices, credit memos. It's even on a journal. So if you do your recording of sales and purchasing on perhaps a sales journal, and you now have within sales journals an extra column that you can specify the VAT date for this posting. So even on journals, you can now specify that date that's different to your posting date, which is a very nice new feature. And another really nice feature, especially for those companies who are buying and selling goods, such as our wine customers. Quite often you're creating a sales invoice and it says you don't have enough stock, but you know you do have stock. Maybe it's already on a different sales order or a different sales invoice. You now have the ability, instead of going through all of your orders to try and figure out which one, you can go and search sales lines or purchase lines. And sales lines, it will give me all the lines on all of my open sales documents. So I can see I've got an order here with 2 lines on it. So if I was looking, where are my Amsterdam lamps? Oh, I've got one over here. I could filter this list and find out which other sales documents have Amsterdam lamps on them. So a very nice way to find out where is some of this stock that you're looking for. You can search your sales lines, you can search your purchase lines. And it goes even further than that. You can even search posted documents. So instead of going to your posted sales orders, posted purchase order, posted sales invoices, posted purchase invoices, you can now go and look at posted purchase lines. And you can go and see purchase receipts, purchase invoices, purchase credit memos, and you can actually go and look at the lines that have been posted instead of a list of documents that you have to drill into one by one by one. So here's all of my different documents with everything that was received on those documents. So that's a brilliant way of searching to get information. Now, the next thing I want to show you is Excel report layouts. This is something that was introduced in the previous Wave release. We mentioned it, but this time I'm going to give you a demo of how it works because there are some other nice things that have been added as well. So let's say part of my job, I need to get a list of vendors. I download it to Excel every month. I do something with it in Excel and I create a report which I give to my manager. We can automate this task. So you find the report that you want to run. I'm just going to run a vendor listing. It could be an aged debtors or something like that. I'm just going to do it with a nice simple report. Vendor list. You'll notice a new option has been added here. We'll come back to that. I would do my filters as normal. I can preview or print as I would normally do. But on send to, this time, I'm going to send this to Excel as data only or data only, depending on your accent. So that's going to create a report for me. When the report is finished, it's going to open Excel. And I've got a raw dump of the data that this report used instead of having a beautiful finished report. But the nice thing is, once I have that, I can do stuff with it myself. So I've got all the information that I would expect, the vendor numbers, names, addresses, what's their balance, etc. Maybe my monthly report, I do a pivot table or I insert a chart or something. Let me go and do that here on this download. So I'm just going to insert a pivot table and I'm just going to put anything in here. I think I'll put a vendor number on the rows, maybe a door number perhaps. And there's a balance in here somewhere. I'm not quite sure where it is. The balance in local currency, I'll put this in my report. So I build my report as I normally would. When I'm finished, I save this, and I'm going to do a save as, just to be safe. And I will save it to my desktop, where I'll now be able to find it. I could put it in my documents folder, but desktop is fine. So vendor list, XLS, save. Now I can come back into Business Central, and if I go and search for report layout, watch my spelling, report layouts, and I can find my vendor report somewhere down this list. We can use search, we can use filters. Yep, there's my vendor list. What I can do, I can highlight this one and I can say, let's have a new layout for this report. I give it a new name. I'll just call it Ian. Ian, it's an Excel layout and it's available for all companies or just for this company. And I say, okay, it's going to ask me to choose where this report's coming from. I saved it on my desktop as a vendor list. I open this up. And now I have two different versions of my vendor list report here. So next month, when I come to run my vendor list, well, I get the option here, which layout would I like to use? And I can go and use the new layout that I just created. I say, okay, I don't get a preview anymore because this is one that we simply download. And again, it's going to create an Excel spreadsheet for me. It's going to open it up. And everything that I taught it about how to build this report, it's going to remember and it knows, and it's built the pivot table in this report for me and opened it up. So I don't have to do this manually. I think this is a fantastic time saver for anybody who's creating reports by downloading information and then, adding a chart, filtering the list, building a pivot table. You can do that all in advance next month, one click of a button, and you have your finished report. I think this is a brilliant feature. Next one I want to talk about is feature management. So I did get a couple of questions about, do we have to have all of these new features? No, some of them you get by default. You don't get a choice, but some of them you can turn on and off. And if you go and search for feature management, this is where an administrator, a super user, these are all of the new kind of features that are available. Some of them, they're turned on for all users by default. Some of them have not yet been turned on. You can, if you wish, turn them on. Or some of them you can turn off if you don't like them. There is a bit of a caveat. So in this release, there's an update to the way that intrastat reporting is done. So the existing method, it produces a report. The new method produces much richer data for you to build your reports for reporting intrastat. You can turn this on, but once you've turned it on, you cannot turn it off. So if you choose the new version of intrastat, you can't go back to the old version. So this is where I say it's really important to go to your UAT testing environment. And if you're doing intrastat reporting, turn it on there only. Have a go and see, does it make sense for you? Is this something you want to use? If not, don't go and turn it on in your live environment, please. There's no way to turn it off once you've turned it on, and you won't be able to go back to the old reports. But this is an area where if there's something that you think is interesting that's not enabled, you can come and enable it. That covers what we thought were like really exciting features of this wave release, but there's a lot more in there. For instance, account schedules, they have been renamed. If you now go and search for account schedules, you won't find them anymore. So don't worry, they're still there. They have now been renamed to financial reports. If you go into financial reports, you'll find the same account schedules you used to have. There's been a bit of a tweak on how these reports, if you want to modify them or create your own, it's changed slightly how you do that, but it's a much more intuitive way of working now. I think it's a big improvement. Microsoft's investment in Shopify. They're really putting money behind this. So if you want to start building a web shop, have a web presence where people can view your products, order, etc., Shopify is one of those tools. And Microsoft are building into Business Central how to set up Shopify, how to integrate with Shopify out of the box so that you don't need to develop your own website and integrations, etc. If you do not have a web shop and it's something that you're thinking about, then Shopify is really one of the options that you need to consider. It's the easiest for Business Central.
And we can help with that. If someone is interested, then do get in touch and we can talk you through it and we can help you.
Yep, certainly. We do have one of our consultants has been playing with this. Yep. He's doing a demo internally in the coming weeks to show all of us how we would set this up if we had to. Another feature that's been added is multiple remit to addresses for vendors. So instead of just having one address where you send the remittance, there's now multiple and you can choose which one you want to send it to, which is a nice little feature. Power Platform. So any of you who use Power Platform, what used to be called Flow and Power Apps, it's now been renamed to the Power Platform. I can't remember the exact wording for them. But that integration, Microsoft are continuing to enhance. It's now much easier to send things from Business Central to Teams, etc. Power BI, one of the great reporting tools. On your home page, you can have a Power BI report. In the next version, in this wave, you can have multiple Power BI reports on your home page. So if you've got multiple reports in Power BI, you can display them on your home page. And another one just to keep in mind, this is an improvement Microsoft are making. that not everybody's going to enjoy, but it's one of the things we have to live with. They're changing the menus up at the top. So the ones that people use more often, the ones that people consistently put to the front, they're starting to elevate them for everyone else on the assumption that this is what people want to do. And if you go to feature management, you'll see there was the modern taskbar. That's this feature. It's something that you can opt in or opt out at the moment. In the future, it's going to be something that everybody opts into. But it's well worth turning it on. It kind of makes these menus more dynamic. On the downside, if you're used to clicking here, then clicking here, then clicking here, things might move and you might have to click somewhere else to get to those menus. So just bear that one in mind. And there's other places where some menus have changed as well.
So we had this conversation obviously in the Wave update meeting, and we were talking about it internally. And one of my colleagues actually sent a message saying that they played around with this modern environment, with this modern look and feel, and it can be switched on and off for just a session, and then it reverts back afterwards. Any extension menu options are retained, and it looks good, was the comment. So, you know, it's good to try this and see what it looks like. It is a slight change, as you said, Ian, but in Microsoft's wisdom, that's the way they're going forward, and it will be retaining those most used menu options. And that's why people do change it and customize it. They're realizing that's the important parts that people want to keep, and that's what's been elevated and kept. And the others, I mean, I don't know if you see when Ian's looking around Business Central, he's always typing in the search box. All the time typing in the search box. So very rarely do I see you go through menu options anymore. It's always in that search box.
Yeah. And there's even some more subtle changes. So if you look at, just for argument's sake, customers, and when I look at my customer list, you will see for some of these menus, Microsoft have just changed them. So you used to have an approvals button up here somewhere. That has been moved and it now appears in the customer menu, and that is for everyone. There are a few more where they've moved things around. They've put them in more obvious places where people have gone looking for them instead of where they used to be. So again, in your UAT system, when you're doing testing, don't just have one person check these things. Get a variety of users to have a go in your test system. Make sure it works for everyone, not just for one power user who's very happy to do it this way. You know, that sales clerk who doesn't like change, let them have a go so that they can get a feel and be part of the process and buy in. That way you get the acceptance and a happier client base. That's all I wanted to show. Was there any more questions, Danusha?
No, not at the moment.
Yeah, perfect.
So yeah, obviously that was the functionality that Ian highlighted. We will have the transcript of the video of this webinar available on the website, and you can share, as I said, the webinar with your colleagues if they were unable to attend. So just to finish off from me, we've got here on this last slide some actions. So as well as the Wave information that Tesla would have been sending to you, we've also sent out some GDAP emails about access to your systems when we need support or do any change requests for you. And I know a number of you have already completed that, so thank you. But yeah, do try out this new functionality for yourselves. And the link there is for the Microsoft site where all the information is available. But Tesla has also created some Freshdesk articles, so they will be available for you to look at within that Freshdesk portal. So yeah, thank you. And yeah, that's the link there. There's a lot of information there that could take some time to read, and that's why we picked those highlights for you today.
Yep. And if you do go here, the important place to look, if you follow that link, is on this side where you see application. Here's some of the things that I spoke about today, and a little further down in reporting and user experience. Those are the highlights that you really do need to read. The other stuff is more optional, but it's well worth having a look.
So thank you so much for joining us today. As always, the webinar link will be sent out on demand afterwards. Thanks for joining. Thank you so much, Ian.
Yeah, thanks.